Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? That's right. This is the Boxing Source Midweek Report. This time it is on Thursday. Really didn't have the time to really go for it on Wednesday or yesterday. It was like very, very tired from doing some off-field work, over the previous week. So wanted to just go ahead give this thing in for this week as we prepare for two of the best fights in the sport of boxing that's coming up next week. That's right, we're going to have two great fights within days of each other. This is like one of those rarities in the sport of boxing to have two fights of this magnitude here within the sport. And for this one, this particular midweek report wanted to focus on the bout that's going to be for the unified super bantamweight championships that will be in Japan. That's right, cool boy Scooter, Stephen Fulton taking on the monster Naoya Inoue. And this is going to be a great, great matchup between two undefeated fighters, two fighters that I basically have in the pound for pound rankings within the top 10. Stephen Fulton is just outside of the top five, while Naoya Inoue is there currently at number three. You know, and this bout has both of these guys, with great records. Stephen Fulton there with a record of 21-0. Naoya Inoue with a record of 24-0, with Naoya Inoue having 21 of his wins by way of knockout, and Stephen Fulton having 8 of his wins by way of knockout. Now, with Stephen Fulton, he has a fairly notable record by beating multiple undefeated fighters, such as Isaac Avalar, Arnold Kagai, Angelo Leo, and Brandon Figueroa, that were all in succession. He's also faced, Adam Blue Nose Lopez, who, was a fairly notable guy in the sport of boxing. Also, Josh Greer Jr. is some people that some fans are familiar with too. So he's definitely had a great run, while being at the 122-pound division, which is super bantamweight. And, with him being able to, unify the belts when he defeated Brandon Figueroa in 2021, that kind of like put him up there as one of those top fighters within the, what I would say, the divisions that are below 126. I know that there are a number of folks that, kind of like have, feelings about fighters that are what I would say below the lightweight division, but there have been many, many, many talented fighters below the lightweight division, and these two are definitely among the top of the list currently as those who pretty much said that they were among the top fighters within the division. And yes, we've had a couple of guys that have been noted as being among the top in the pound for pound rankings among other publications or other organizations and things like that. But you do have someone like a Naoya Inoue who has been in the discussion as being one of those guys among the top in the pound for pound rankings. Of course, he is a multi-division champion of winning titles in the bantamweight division, the super flyweight division, light flyweight also. He's competed at. Yes, he did completely skip the flyweight division to win a world title at super flyweight before becoming bantamweight champion, and then eventually unifying all of the titles there to become the undisputed champion at bantamweight with his last fight against Paul Butler. They did, take him 11 rounds to do that, but everybody knew that he was going to beat Paul Butler to become undisputed champion there at bantamweight. But with that being said, this is without question his best or toughest fight to date. It seems like on paper. Even though this will be, one of those, as they said, hometown fights there against Stephen Fulton. Stephen Fulton is one of the, like I said, one of the more skilled fighters out there in the sport of boxing. Was able to, get multiple victories against guys that were floating around the top of the super bantamweight division. And for some time after defeating Brandon Figueroa to unify the WBC and WBO titles, he wanted to look for being the undisputed champion there at super bantamweight, but that never really materialized. So see if he could get the next best thing, and that was actually in some cases probably better than becoming an undisputed champion at super bantamweight, and that is facing Naoya Inoue here to defend those belts, as Inoue has been, regarded as probably the top fighter, I would say, below 135. So many will probably regard him as the top fighter below 135 pounds. And with his KO ratio or stoppage ratio, like I said, 21 wins by way of knockout out of 24 fights. That kind of like makes him, one of the more dangerous punchers there in the sport of boxing. But on the flip side too, some may say that there have been a few fights or a few things where they say like he was matched up against fighters that have a certain style, and that maybe Stephen Fulton could give him a different element here in this upcoming bout on July 25th. That could be a something that could throw him off a little bit for a good little while. So that means that this could be a really, really good challenge here for Naoya Inoue. Now, it seems like from what I've seen that there may have been like a number of people that kind of favor Naoya Inoue in this matchup. That maybe it could be, what I would say, what wider a wider pick for Naoya Inoue to win this bout in comparison to what we're going to see with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. But I think that this matchup here is one that is very, very good bout. One that I think can really show the best out of both of these fighters. Think that with Naoya Inoue, I think one of his great attributes is not with his power. It's more of like his timing and how he throws his punches. Like he's able to get everything out of his punch from from where he places his shots, from his foot placement, and being able to pinpoint where openings are for his opponent in order for him to land great shots on his opponent. But with someone that is fairly slick, can move around the ring very well in Stephen Fulton, that gives him a different element. And then also with Stephen Fulton, with his dimensions, there with the so-called tape, he's there at 5'6" with a reach of 70 and 1/2 inches, in comparison to Naoya Inoue, who is there at 5'5" with a reach of 67.5. So for him, it's going to be more of like his movement that's going to be key. And, with it being in Japan, how are they going to, handle, how the ring is going to be, what the ring dimensions are going to be in this particular bout, that could, be something where, maybe Naoya Inoue could have a little bit of a, advantage or something like that he could be familiar with if the ring dimensions are, fairly small or smaller than they usually have. Therefore, bouts within the bantamweight or super bantamweight division, as this will be in the super bantamweight division. You know what I'm saying? So that is one thing that I'm going to be looking out for. So shout out to those on the live, joining in the live here with the preview. Joseph Brown's here in the building. He says that Inoue's balanced fundamentals and counter-punching power will win him this fight. Think that he does have the thing for balanced fundamentals and the counter-punching. Now, the thing about it is though, I don't know about the counter punching being a factor here in this fight. I think it's going to be him being the aggressor, the main aggressor in this bout. That is going to initiate the action mostly, and that you're going to get Stephen Fulton be the be a reactionary in this sense. The only thing that I would say with Fulton, kind of like being a aggressor here is if he kind of like has it to where he's throwing his jab or his lead hand while backing up. Like he'll like try to see if he could back up to the ropes, throw jabs, and see how Inoue is going to come in and then try to react to that and then get away from the ropes. You kind of like seen that a number of times with Stephen Fulton in his bout that he had against Brandon Figueroa, is that he kind of use his length, so to speak, as far as like his 70.5 inch reach against Figueroa, while his back was to the ropes. But he was able to, throw combinations, land combinations, and get out of the pocket there against Brandon Figueroa. But the thing with Figueroa is that does Figueroa have the same ability to cut off the ring as Naoya Inoue does? And I feel like a number of people kind of like say, I don't think that he does. So that is going to be another element there for Stephen Fulton to deal with, is someone that may have a better ability to cut off the ring against him. I think that with Stephen Fulton, he kind of reacts to the point where he sees what his opponent does, while he gets himself to the ropes. But outside of that, what he's going to do is he's going to try to react and see that if he has the ability to get away from his opponent. That's the key point. And with Naoya Inoue to me has one of those better abilities to kind of like cut off the ring, on his opponent. You've seen that a number of times in his past few fights where he's been able to cut off the ring and really, do some damage on his opponent, while they're on the ropes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Fulton was moving straight back. That was pretty much the strategy for most of that fight against Brandon Figueroa. So we did give up, a lot of real estate with, little to no resistance in that fight. Actually, kind of reminded me of the first fight between Jamel Charlo and Brian Carlos Castaño. Where Jamel Charlo would like intentionally back up to the ropes and allow Brian Carlos Castaño to lead the way as far as like the pace goes, as far as like offense goes, and things like that. It only was when he started to move on his front foot and continue to move forward. Halfway through that fight was weird. You kind of like seen the tide turn a little bit there, but that's how that fight kind of ended up in the draw. But here, I think with Stephen Fulton's style, he's likely to have himself back up to the ropes in order to get off his offense, kind of land with this. I think with this reach advantage, he's going to try to use that as a defensive mechanism instead of an offensive mechanism in reference to throwing a jab. He's not going to. I don't feel like he's going to throw an offensive jab, but it's more going to be like a quote unquote defensive jab, to where he kind of like sees the distance between him and Inoue and reacts off of that. So it's going to be, to a point where he kind of, throws off of that left jab and then, try to come off from that. So I feel like that is going to be how he's going to start off this bout against Naoya Inoue. And for Inoue, it's more about, what is he, going to start off with. I think with Inoue, like I said, he is very aggressive when it comes to his punches, his punch placement, and that he gets everything out of his punch. So will he be able to do that here against someone that's, naturally bigger there in Stephen Fulton? Stephen Fulton has been there, within the 122 pound division for his entire career. Even though it's been, what has it been, like 8 years? 8 years as a professional there for Stephen Fulton. He's been there, around 122 pounds around that whole time. You know, with Inoue, Inoue has been through those multiple divisions, starting around at 108 pounds. What has it been? 10 years ago. It's almost been, well, more than 10 years ago actually. And going up from 108 to now 122 pounds. And so it's more of like, okay, is this going to be the limit here for Naoya Inoue? Like being at 108, going up from 108 to 112, 112 to 115, 115 to 118 or whatever it is. Well, actually, take that back. Remember, he did skip the flyweight division, which some people feel like that was kind of interesting there, that he did skip the flyweight division. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, that kind of says, hey, maybe who knows how he would have done against those guys over there floating around that flyweight division. But that's neither here nor there now, as Naoya Inoue is now campaigning at 122 pounds. Now, Fulton realized that he does rely a lot on his athleticism. He has to get the respect early, and he's going to have to fight in spots and must win in the pocket and be defensively responsible in those exchanges. Now, with him being able to win in the pocket and being defensively responsible, I feel like that is going to be the key in the fight, especially for Stephen Fulton. With the tail of the tape, with him initially, getting the reach advantage, having a reach advantage, having a little bit of a height advantage, but the reach advantage of about 3 inches with the wingspan and whatnot. He'll be able to see if he can get his jab off, and then see if his speed or whatever it is could get him a good little lead or whatnot. But outside of that, is going to be how his inside game is going to be there against Naoya Inoue. That was one of the things that was a concern for Fulton ahead of his bout against Brandon Figueroa, because Brandon Figueroa was more of an inside guy, wants to work the body first before touching you upstairs. Will it be the same case here for Stephen Fulton against Naoya Inoue, where maybe some people feel like Naoya Inoue may have the advantage, in close quarters, given that not that he's a shorter fighter, but like I said, he is very powerful when it comes to punch placement, punch power, and things like that. I feel like him, outside of Tank Davis, maybe he may be one of the hardest punchers out there in the sport of boxing right now, as far as like the form, placement, timing, all of that. He may be second to Tank Davis when it comes to overall power from their punches, whether it's from his right hand or his left hook, or whether it comes with his jab, because a lot of times he will step forward with his jab and just step forward and get the most out of that jab to have their opponent, not just snap their head back, but usually step back there in that particular case. So, I feel like with Inoue having that type of ability to do that against multiple opponents, he may rely on that here against Stephen Fulton, but Stephen Fulton may have the thing where his movement also may be a factor. Now, from the last bouts that they've had, Stephen Fulton last had his bout, what was it, last June. So it's been 13 months since Stephen Fulton's last bout against Daniel Rahman in the Armory in Minneapolis. Like I said, he, wanted to see about getting that undisputed title bout. Didn't work out. So with that being said, after about a few months or so, he said, hey, let me see if I could, try to get another fight that could be, a bigger fight. And that was here against Naoya Inoue. So he's going to be, coming off of that, 13 months plus, outside the ring. While, Naoya Inoue had his last bout in December where he became the undisputed champion at the bantamweight division, defeating Paul Butler there. So that was that. Now with that bout against Paul Butler, he was able to, virtually win every round on that. But because Paul Butler really wasn't engaging in any of those bouts, he'll look like he was, just trying to get through, each of those, each of those, each of those rounds and see if he could get past that. So, that was the thing there for Paul Butler. It was almost like he was trying to, survive, that whole thing. But Naoya anyway was able to, get up to him, catch him, and be able to eventually stop him. And that was how he was able to become the undisputed champion there in the bantamweight division. Now let me see. What we got. We got Joe here chiming. Yeah, time and technique. Yeah. Anyway, it's always in punching range. Even when he comes forward, being off balance allows him to punch and get maximum power. Yeah, yeah. He it's almost like you rarely seen Naoya Inoue be like out of balance. The only time I kind of like seen that, or in a sense, was that first fight that he had against Nonito Donaire, and in that one, it kind of like was, Donaire really had the power behind his punches to, really affect Naoya Inoue. But outside of that, you really haven't seen, that type of instance where Inoue was kind of like, much, really that much in trouble. Like, I mean, when you fought like, Payano really had no chance. McDonald didn't have no chance. Manuel Rodriguez didn't have much of a chance. There, a lot of these fighters, I like if you look down, what Naoya Inoue has been able to do here in his pro career. Like it's almost like he's virtually won every round so far, like every round. And it's just wild to see like he's able to do that up to this particular point. It's really interesting to have someone like a talent like Naoya Inoue. They're going from where he's been at it like 108 to now going campaigning at 122, and seeing if he could go ahead and become the unified champ there 122 against Stephen Fulton. Okay. Joe was at the last Fulton fight there where, Daniel Roman is a good fighter. Fulton exposed a terrible feat. Fulton's angles and footwork made Roman look like he was stuck in cement. Yeah. But, the wildest thing is like Daniel Roman was, of course, former unified champion himself there, and had that loss to MJ Akhmadaliev, where a number of people felt like he should have got the win there over MJ Akhmadaliev. So you could have had it to the point where it could have been Roman versus Fulton for the undisputed belts. But yeah, that's the thing. Roman is one of those fighters that many would consider as still one of the top fighters there at the super bantamweight division. And Stephen Fulton just, really was able to move around the ring a lot there in that bout. And Daniel Roman really didn't have much of an answer at all, over the course of those 12 rounds. It was almost a clean sweep there for Stephen Fulton. Only, one judge gave Daniel Roman one round in that bout. But other than that, man, it was just not not necessarily a good look there for Daniel Roman over that course of that fight. But like I said, I mean, the thing with Roman too is he doesn't necessarily have the movement like Naoya Inoue does. So it's going to be a whole different element there for Stephen Fulton to deal with. You know, uh, yeah, it is like Ricardo Lopez. Like his skills. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, Daniel Mann is a very good fighter. It's just that he kind of like had those shortcomings there against MJ. Lost a couple times early in his career, but definitely he's still one of those fighters that can perform at a high level there in the super bantamweight division. I mean, he's defeated like Juan Carlos Payano, TJ Doheny, and Gavin McDonald there. While having a hold of the world titles, for some time. So it's definitely that. But definitely we'll continue on this. I do have a guest here that will also have their take on this upcoming bout between Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue, and that is the host here of War Week Radio Network. And that's brother Joseph Aaron in the building. What's going on?
Hey there, Big James. How are you doing, my friend? And hope you've had a great week, brother. And I hope you're fully recovered from your escapades in Chi-Town.
Not fully recovered yet, but we're still doing the do as far as like getting this boxing talk going. I mean, like I said, we have two big fights coming up, two great fights coming up that really deserve their own shine at like standing alone their own shine. And so with this, I definitely wanted to have a show dedicated to this fight between Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue, because that this was like easily the best bout that could have been made within that 122-pound division, or pretty much from like 126 on down. This is probably the best fight to make.
Yeah. Well, in any division, it's one of the best matchups that you can make in boxing. And credit once again to Stephen Fulton for, daring to be great. I know that term is thrown around quite a bit in boxing, and it has been for good reason lately, because these fighters, guys, make no mistake about it. They're all fearless. They're warriors. They're deserving of our praise. And when you have in the mindset everything to gain and nothing to lose in your mind, right? Like Stephen Fulton, he's a warrior. He's paid his dues. He's ready for this. Now, whether or not that's going to transcend to success in the ring in Japan, well, that remains to be seen. And the odds, well, they're not very favorable for him at this time. Have you gone over the odds yet, sir?
No, I have not. I'm just about to pull them up right now.
All right. Well, I'll keep talking with you because you don't love the fact that you're breaking this up into separate coverage, because you understand the gravity and the consequence of this matchup, and it deserves its own show. Unfortunately, next week, one thing exclusively now, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about, Spence versus Crawford. And since the media workouts, everyone's already started that. And we'll go into that whenever you want. But, oh boy, Stephen Fulton, he's a great fighter. He's a pound-for-pound guy. But is that going to be enough to defeat one of the greatest fighters of this generation? And that's no exaggeration, Naoya Inoue. In his first fight up at 122, the biggest intangible, James. As great as Inoue has looked up to this point, is he going to be able to transfer his power to the larger weight division, 4 pounds heavier against bigger fighters? A guy is elusive. Almost seems like Stephen Fulton. Well, he likes to make his job almost harder than it has to be at times. But he
Mhm.
seems to have learned his lesson from the Figueroa fight, right? But when you look at the
Yeah.
odds, right, the most favorable odds for Stephen Fulton, it's a plus 250.
Yeah.
And Naoya Inoue on most race and sports books are hovering around minus 330, minus 340, minus 360 around that area.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
understanding that home court advantage, home field advantage is a lot in boxing, right? Especially if you don't have severe knockout power like Stephen Fulton. In my opinion, he's going to have to pull off the perfect performance. He's going to have to be smart, use the entire ring, do something that no one's been able to do up to this point. And that's whenever Naoya Inoue gets in firing range, wrap him up and make the
Mhm.
referee actually create that distance for him, forcing him to reset whenever he gets trapped in a corner, trapped on the ropes. That's going to be something that no one's ever done for 12 rounds successfully against Naoya Inoue. Now, once
Right.
again, his toughest fight, and I'm sure you've gone over this already, was Nonito Donaire,
Yeah.
right?
That
And
first one.
he's still, the first one, obviously, and he still won it decisively. And this tells you everything you need to know about a warrior like Naoya Inoue, right? He fought that fight with a broken orbital bone, broken orbital
Yeah.
bone
Horrible. Yep.
from round 3 on, and he still won the fight. That says everything you need to know. Hold on real quick, brother. I'm going to have to take a 2-minute break, brother. Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Yeah. No problem. No problem. But yeah, as Joseph, kind of like hinted at with the odds, it's pretty sizable there in favor of Naoya Inoue. We said that Inoue was floating around at the 330 to like 360. There on the books. I'm currently on BetMGM. BetMGM has it at plus 350 in favor of Naoya Inoue. With Stephen Fulton at plus 260. Now you compare that to what they have for BetMGM for Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. They got Terrence Crawford at minus 175 and Errol Spence at plus 150. Ooh, I should have. You know what? Ooh, that kind of like hurts me because I should have put it in some earlier for Errol Spence because it looks like the money's been coming in for Errol Spence kind of serious. Oh man, I missed out. But either way, like I said, also on that two-way fight result, you still have Naoya Inoue as a minus a 350 and Stephen Fulton at a plus 250, and they really feel like Inoue is going to win there by KO or TKO. Like really is like not even like on points. It's like plus 200 on points, but just a plus 100 for Inoue to win by KO or TKO or a technical decision. So they really leaning on Naoya Inoue to win this fight here, at least from these different bets here. But
Well, let's be honest though, brother. Let's be honest. In elite level matchups of this nature, and this is what's made Naoya Inoue the monster, or how freakish he is, right? Very uncharacteristic, and he fights like an all-time great. Because when have you ever seen anyone at 118, 115, and now 122, if he knocks out Stephen Fulton, which highly unlikely, right? That's not going to happen more than likely. But if he does, boy, when have you ever seen a guy this tiny knock out everyone, right? In these weight divisions. It hasn't been seen since Manny Pacquiao, right?
right, yeah, Manny Pacquiao was was going to say.
But the chances
But
of this
also,
ending in a knockout. Now, once again, look at the over/under, right? It's 11 rounds for a reason. No one thinks that this is going to end in a knockout. And what are the chances of Stephen Fulton winning a decision in Japan?
yeah, where did they have this at for the decision, like 500 something plus 500 or something like that. Let me go
Yeah.
back. You know, it was on points plus 450. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
so that tells you a lot right there.
That says it all, doesn't it? Now, once again, I think this is going to be a very, very difficult fight in the first half. And Stephen Fulton, he always gets the most of himself in the gym. He is a workhorse, and he's such a good fighter. He's such a complete all-round guy. In my opinion, his biggest detriment in this fight is going to be the fact that he really doesn't have, enough power, I don't think, to get the attention of Naoya Inoue. But then again, he is a little guy moving up. He's only 5'5", right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that much of a. I don't think it's really that much of a height difference. Like I said, from the tail of the tape, you got Stephen Fulton at 5'6.5".
Oh, that's
There,
right. Yeah. And
so
correct me if I'm wrong, Nonito was about the same height, right?
Nonito, well, yeah, I've seen Nonito straight up, and Nonito. Well, I'm like 6'3", so of course.
Oh, well, then never mind. Yeah, he's gonna look like Peter. He's gonna he's gonna look like Peter Dinklage, right?
But actually, Nonito is listed taller than Stephen Fulton is. So I think that's fairly interesting there.
See, that's what I'm saying. Nonito is a very tall, rangy guy for his weight division. And congratulations to him. He's going to be competing on the Crawford Spence undercard now.
Yes, they moved it, from the Cosmo thing and to the Spence Crawford card due to, what was it, the that super welterweight fight got scrapped, and also the Victor Verkis fight got scrapped.
Yeah, it was Jesus Ramos got scratched.
Yeah, Jesus Ramos. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that fight, though. But congratulations to Nonito. He deserves this opportunity. And at 40 years of age, can he win a world title at 118? But once again, we'll talk about that next week, the closer we get to the big event. But, you know what? Credit to Stephen Fulton. And once again, he's getting his biggest payday to date, right?
Yeah.
And make no mistake about this, guys. He's the champ. He's the reigning and defending champ, one of the best fighters in boxing. Is everything. Naoya Inoue is a huge attraction and a rock star in Japan. This is why he's elected to travel over there, and you have to give him credit for doing this. Is he going to regret it? Oh, who cares? He made this fight a reality. My hat's off to him. He's already a winner and a champion in my mind.
Oh yeah, without question. I mean, like I was saying in the first part of the preview, the thing with Stephen Fulton is, like, he's had one of the more notable resumes in boxing, but it's pretty much been there at 122 pounds, defeating multiple unbeaten fighters when they were able to face him, including Adam Brunos Lopez, Joshua Greer Jr., and had that 4-fight run, where he, culminated with this win over Brandon Figueroa to become unified champion at super bantamweight. So he's definitely been tested there at 122 pounds, and definitely what has it been? It's been, he's had, what has it been, 48 rounds of boxing in his last 4 fights. Every fight went to a decision there for Stephen Fulton. But like I was saying, and on the flip side with Naoya Inoue, he's not named the monster for no reason. I pretty much put him at number 2 overall as the hardest punchers in the sport, to me, in comparison to Gervonta Tank Davis. But I think with his overall technique that he has with his punches, he could be at number 1. No,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's going to be.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And once again, that's the only, in my opinion, that's his only glaring detriment in this fight. I'm not sure he can get that respect from Naoya Inoue to make him think twice about just walking through the front door. Now, obviously, when a grown man hits you, I don't care if he's at 122 or 112 or strawweight. It doesn't feel downy soft when someone punches you in the face with only 8-ounce gloves, right? But
Yeah.
with that said, guys, these are warriors. They're conditioned for this. That's why they put their bodies through agony while preparing themselves for the rigors of battle, but mentally and physically. And make no mistake about it, guys. Stephen Fulton is prepared for this. He's been preparing for this moment his entire life. And I tell you what, if he comes away the victor, where would you put Stephen Fulton pound for pound after this?
Well, easily top 3. I mean, that's automatic for me. But given that it's going to be, like I said, actually, I made the statement though. I said after July 29th, you will have the number 1 and number 2 fighters pound for pound, listed on the Boxing Source pound for pound list, there. So I mean, it won't really, be much of a debate for that. I mean, yeah, I've had, Alexander Usyk there at number 1 for some time now, but since he's not going to have that fight against Tyson Luke Fury, he's going to be put a couple of notches down, and you got to have, one of those 4 guys up there, because like I have number 2 versus number 5 and number 3 versus number 6 in the rankings. So it's definitely going to be 2 great bouts. It's just that, like I said, with this one, you really, like, for me, I just feel like, knowing like all of these fighters that have like fought from 135 on down, or I'd say like 130 on down, because you have, those glamour guys, so to speak, at lightweight. You have the notable welterweight division that's been like that, for years and years and years. And then you go above that, go to middleweight, you go to, heavyweight, of course. But, you really don't have that many people focusing on, what happens at 126, what happens at 122, what happens at,
it's a darn
outside of when you have Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez run,
it's a darn shame, James, because pound for pound, you could easily say that this is the best overall product for the fans, especially the casual and mainstreams. No, they don't knock out guys like the heavyweights do. Far from it. That very seldom happens. That's what makes Inoue such an anomaly. But with the action, with the skill level, you don't get a better product than this in any other division. It's going to be nonstop action, guys. And this is going to be a very fast-paced, high-level chess match. This is the big one, guys. This is huge. And unfortunately, you look at the American market. Like, once again, Japanese, this is front page news in Japan. Rightfully so. In the American market, we have to see this at 5 a.m. on ESPN Plus, because ESPN has deemed it, well, we're not going to put it on the mothership. We're not going to put it on the mainstream channel, because let's just face it, SportsCenter is going to get higher ratings than this fight would. That's their mindset. There is something terribly wrong.
That's the crazy part about it. At 5 a.m, 5 a.m., and that's likely a repeat of SportsCenter.
Yep. And once again,
they've already shown like 3 times, 4 times already.
That's right. So why aren't they showing this on regular ESPN? Once again, there's something terribly wrong with the perception of our beloved boxing, right? This matchup is so good on paper. Now, and once again, I can't imagine it living up to that very high regard that we actually hold it to. I can't imagine it not living up to that. Right. When you look at both styles, when you look at the attributes of both fighters, I can't imagine this not being an instant classic. This is going to be a great fight. And guys, if you think that Stephen Fulton has been just flown in to lose, like Coach Gogi says, I don't see it. I don't buy it. Look, look, you've You've spoken to Stephen Fulton, and you know where his head is. You know where his mindset is. Can you imagine anyone dominating this guy?
No, I can't.
It's hard to, isn't it?
It's
So
hard to.
that's what, when you have the mindset of a winner like Stephen Fulton, yeah, it's very hard to imagine him losing. That's what makes this fight so damn intriguing. Guys, this is just a notch below Crawford Spence, which is why you've dedicated an entire program midweek to this. So you don't have to split time with anything else.
Nope. And to your point in reference to, you know, the divisions that, you know, I mentioned, right? Yep. When it comes to the sport of boxing, as far as like the you know, the folks that like us in the media, right? For the casual fans that could try to get into the sport of boxing or read like some of the articles or things like that, we usually have, you know, those so-called awards like Fighter of the Year, Knockout of the Year, and things like that. Yep. But one of them is Fight of the Year. And on multiple occasions, the Fight of the Year comes from the divisions from 122 below on multiple occasions. And I'll give you another example. One good candidate for Fight of the Year this year was that bout between Luis Neri and Azat Hopanesian.
Oh,
good example.
Yep. That was nonstop action, back and forth, multiple knockdowns, thrilling. But I will say this though, James, most of the times when you look at Fight of the Year, very seldom is it elite versus elite. Most of the time it's flawed fighter versus flawed fighter at the world-class level, where they have enough inadequacies defensively where it makes for a barn burner. I don't see a barn burner in this matchup, but it will have its moments. Make no mistake about it, make no mistake about it, though. This is going to be another Haney Lomachenko, where it's going to be a high-level chess match throughout the entirety. And honestly, don't look past Stephen Fulton. Like I said, Gogi is, look, the only thing that gives me doubts about Stephen Fulton's chances in this fight is because Gogi, in his preview on Sunday, he's picking Inoue by decision. And he's only been wrong since we've been doing the show on YouTube for 2.5 years. He's only been wrong twice in his pre-fight prognostications. That's incredible. And both times it was Oscar Valdez versus Alacran Berchelt.
Oh, right. I was wrong about that too.
Yeah, everyone, pretty much most people were. I think 99% of us were, right? And then he was wrong about Joe Joyce, Zhilei Zhang. He thought Joe Joyce would actually survive the initial onslaught and take him out in the later rounds when he actually tires out. And he loses some steam, right, on that big engine of his, that 40-year-old engine now. Those are the only 2 times he's picked incorrectly, which that's not good for Stephen Fulton, because the immortal words of Don Warwick Chargan, God rest his soul, he told me, hey guys, look, James has the best eyes in the business. He's the best talent scout in the business. And it's not on a major network right now. I will never know. So that's the only thing that really casts a shadow of doubt on Stephen Fulton. Otherwise, it's almost impossible. Like when you talk to him, when you listen to him, his mindset, when you see him work, he's got it all, right? The only thing he's lacking in the matchup is world-class power. That's not good when it comes to when you're going to have to do something. Like even Nonito Donaire, world-class power for that, freakish power for that weight division. Yep. Yeah, he couldn't stop Naoya Inoue, and he cracked him good enough to break his cheekbone. Yeah, and it still didn't deter him. This guy, Naoya Inoue is indeed a monster. But we'll see. It's a theater of the unexpected. That's why they fight the fights. Anything can and often does happen in the ring.
Yeah, that is true.
I just wish it were on mainstream ESPN, and I wish more people knew about this. Damn shame.
Yeah, like Joseph Brown here says, like if I'm in Inoue's team, like how ESPN does have, Inoue at top, number two pound for pound. Why wouldn't there be more attention placed on this fight? Well, I mean, kind of like goes into, what Joseph was saying. I mean, even with Inoue kind of being semi promoted by Top Rank, it's not like they put in a complete 100% effort behind it. And if they did, then yeah, it kind of would be something to the level of, as Joseph said, Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko. I think this fight is around that type of level as far as like the skill level is concerned, because you're going to have two guys that are very, very good when it comes to their overall skill level, and you're going to see that in action here. Between these two fighters. But that the thing that concerns me, particularly for Stephen Fulton, is one, with it being in not just being in Japan. I'm talking about the ring size and how he would be able to be familiar to move around the ring in this fight. And two, as mentioned, you really haven't seen anybody punch Naoya Inoue to the level that they respect their power, even with Nonito Donaire, like
Yep.
almost breaking his orbital bone,
Yeah.
So
He
it's
broke his
gonna be
cheek.
more
Yeah.
of so it's gonna be more of Fulton, kind of like I feel like I said this earlier, like if he tries to fight similar to how he fought his fight against Brandon Figueroa, that could be a strategy. But the thing about it is, for me, is that Naoya Inoue could cut off the ring much better than Brandon Figueroa can. So that's definitely going
Oh
to be,
gosh. You know what?
uh,
You know, brother. Look,
big.
look, look. I love me some Brandon Figueroa from Weslaco, Texas. Right? It's just
Yep.
several hours away from where I live, and his entire family. They're good people. I really love Omar Senior. He's a great guy, and he's done a great job raising his children. They're all great. Including his daughter, who's the conditioning coach for both of his sons, right?
Yep.
But make no mistake about it. Brandon Figueroa is not the complete fighter that Naoya Inoue is.
Oh, sure isn't. Sure
Not
isn't.
even close. Not even close. And look, I think that's the only reason why Stephen Fulton elected to sit in the pocket and trade with him during that fight, because he saw all the holes in his defense where he could land effectively.
Mm-hmm.
But it does show you the heart, the determination, the mental and physical toughness of Stephen Fulton. Make no mistake about it, because in that fight, Brandon was a biscuit shy of featherweight. Right?
Yeah, he was a
He's
good
a
business
naturally big guy, a good
guy.
puncher, very tough guy. But guys, Naoya Inoue is at a different level. Um, you know what? Let's talk about the other intangibles, James. What size of the ring do you think it's going to be in this fight? Because keep in mind, this isn't Nevada.
Right. What do they have in Nevada? Like around
20 feet is standard. When you fight at the MGM Grand or the T-Mobile Arena, it's
yeah.
20 feet. It's 20 feet unless it's agreed to
Um,
by both participants.
I've heard, yeah. I wonder if the thing for that second fight between Inoue and Donaire was around 20 feet, or maybe he was even shorter than that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, but
Don't be shocked if you see a 17-foot ring.
I'm thinking that it could be a 17-foot ring. I don't know if I could find it where whatever that rematch was between Inoue and Donaire, but yeah, if it's like 17 feet, yeah, that's gonna be something right there.
Yeah, make no mistake about it, guys. And this is, once again, Gogi. He's like Emmanuel Stewart, right? And one thing I used to make fun of Emmanuel. Whenever I would bust his chops, because 30 seconds within the broadcast, he would often ruin the fight by seeing what he sees, right? Being as smart as he is. Like I'll never forget, within the first 30 seconds of Mayorga Oscar De La Hoya, Oh, look, it's wide looping shots. He looks like an amateur fighter. In fact, I've got some amateurs who could whoop my ogre right now, and this is the real reason why he chose him. He's going to exploit him. He's going to land a sharp left hook any second now. Boom, there it is. And he did that within the first minute of the broadcast. James Gogi is the same, cut from the same cloth. He's got those same set of eyes that Emmanuel had. God rest his soul. And he said this, Joe, Fulton's not being flown in to win. Let's be clear about that. Before I give you my prediction, Fulton is being flown in to lose. He's going to be up against it.
He's like, hey, listen, Joe, you see Fulton? He's not going to pull him in.
Joe. Look, I love Gogi's enthusiasm. And you know what? He's always on point. And he is, in my opinion, the sharpest knife within the boxing drawer. I've never, aside from Manuel, and this is why I always call him the Filipino Manuel Stewart. Aside from Emmanuel, I've never met anyone like him who can break things down the way he can. He is a boxing genius. And when he sees something, it's noteworthy. And he's a killjoy at times, which is, once again, he said, look, Fulton's not being flown in to win, guys. He's not. And once again, he doesn't just understand the X's and O's of the business, of what happens in the ring. He is a genius. Like, he knows everything about the business end of it as well. So this is a huge gamble for Stephen Fulton. Will it pay off? I'll tell you what, if it does, he becomes a legend overnight.
Yeah. Now I tell you, if he does what's the most unlikely scenario and is able to stop Naoya Inoue,
oh boy,
really, really, really send shockwaves within the boxing circles if he's able to do that.
Well, look, and boxing diehards, and honestly, they've become an embarrassment to the entire sport. And once again, I'm not referring to your listeners. I'm not referring to mine, because I brag about our War Week Radio Extended family members all the time, saying that they're by far the most intelligent and insightful within the entire diehard boxing community. But you already know what the backlash is. If he knocks out Stephen Fulton, or if he knocks out Naoya Inoue, see, I told you, Inoue was overrated to begin with.
Or
not understanding what a complete badass this guy is.
Or they say, the thing about him kind of reaching his limit. That's been, the question that I kind of raised, but is it okay, is this the part where he went too high as far as the weight is concerned? I mean, maybe, but the thing about it is, I just feel like Inoue's skill level is to the point where he could viably compete and really compete at 122 pounds. And for him to go after the number one guy at 122, says a lot.
That says it all, actually. But you know what? Once again, if Stephen Fulton could punch like Naoya Inoue, I'd say he takes this. I said he takes it overwhelmingly. And he stops him in the mid to late rounds. But let's just face it, guys. He's not known for his power. He only has 8 knockouts on his resume, right?
Yep.
And he's been in some wars, right? He's been in some wars. The Brandon Figueroa fight, the Angela Leo fight, right? And those all
48 rounds.
Yep. That's not good. Once again, he's going to have to perform like Joe Calzaghe did to get this victory over Jeff Lacey. He's going to have to put forth a performance that convincing, where there's no question about it, to win a decision in Japan. Let's not get rose-colored lenses going into this, right? He's going to have to put forth a superstar-making effort. But I will say this. I think he is that special. I think he is that good. Don't be shocked, guys, if this is much more competitive and Stephen Fulton makes a much stronger case for winning this fight on Tuesday.
Oh, it's interesting, man. I didn't even know this just until just now. What was it? A few days ago. He turned? Was it 29? Yeah, 29.
Yep.
We're around the
Prime time.
same age. Yep, around the
Yep.
same age.
Yeah.
He's 29
Yeah.
and they're 30.
You know what? I tell you what, and guys, I know, like from a journalistic standpoint, I don't have a dog in the hunt. I'm very unbiased, and that's the only way you can be if you want to analyze these things properly. But I will say this: my heart. Oh, I am pulling for Stephen Fulton. He's such a good dude, and he's so good. And you want this for the city of Philly as well as the entire American landscape in boxing. We need this, guys. We need a hero within our boxing community. And you know what? Stephen Fulton is that guy. He comes from that ilk. His belief in himself, his understanding of the fight game, his ring IQ. Yeah, it's off the charts, guys. He can do this.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, though, guys. Once again, I can't wait. Like I am genuinely excited to see this, guys. I'm gonna be up. I'm gonna be up early. I'm gonna make my coffee. I'm gonna get my breakfast, and I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna enjoy this fight, however it plays out. And I'm gonna be very thankful that both men had the stones to make this a reality. And credit to all parties involved. You know what? This is what boxing needs, especially with the heavyweight division being as dormant and as disappointing as it has been this year. We need matchups like this to carry the weight.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And I mean these are the fights that like I said, that fans should be clamoring for and asking for, and they're basically getting it. And now it's time for them to support it. So that's the thing here, is that you get this fight, and yeah, you will have to wake up early in the morning or whatever it is to fight. But hey, sometimes it takes that in order to be able to fully support these fights, and then once you do have that and you continue to support them, then you'll get more and more of those high level fights that
I can
asking for.
I can tell you this also, James. Stephen Fulton is going to come back, win or lose, and he's going to be thankful for the treatment that he received from the Japanese media and the fans. A far cry from what they see here in the States, and that's a damn shame, because these guys are warriors. And my hat's off to them for doing what they do, because it is truly remarkable what they put their bodies through, guys, for our entertainment. And so I don't want to hear from this point forward till 29th. I don't want to hear any talk about any Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney purse splits. I don't want to hear Gervonta Davis. I don't want to hear any other fighters' names. Everyone should be dialed in on these two terrific matchups. These are the ones that you've been asking for. I don't want to hear any other bullshit talk, pardon my French, about anything trivial that goes on Twitter or Facebook or any other social media outlet, because it's nonsense and noise. Guys, this is real. This is the reality. And if you can't get up for this, turn in your Boxing Die Hard membership card, because you don't deserve it if you can't get up for these two fights.
Yeah. Like, I mean, for me, if you're not Coach Senior or Coach Squeeze, or the Rise podcast, or you're not over there in Las Vegas, Nevada, over in the camp for Dev Haney, or wherever you're at in Newark or Houston or whatnot for Shakur Stevenson, you really shouldn't be talking about those guys. These are the fights that are coming up. these are the actual fights that are actually happening. So you support what's actually happening. And yes, we do have a fight card coming up on Saturday too. That's on ESPN.
And that's a damn shame. I will say this, James.
Yeah,
George Kambosos versus Maxie Hughes is
Max
a
Hughes.
great job of matchmaking. That's a mandated fight, correct? Or I'm not sure. I think
I wasn't sure if that is like an eliminator of sorts or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
But whatever the case may be, it's a
mhm.
great job of matchmaking, guys. This is completely flying under the radar. This is going to be. Do you remember when you pointed to Neri versus the gentleman from Eastern
Ovanesi.
Europe,
Yep.
Ovanesian? Yes, thank you. What made that fight great has the same ingredients that we're going to see on Top Rank this weekend. This is a great 35-pound matchup. Two incomplete but game fighters who have a lot to lose at this point in their career, right?
Yeah.
They this is a must win for both gentlemen. And
Mhm.
guys, it's completely flying under the radar for the obvious reasons, but guys, tune in because this is going to be a great all action fight. Both men have the mindset of winners. As flawed as they both are, we're going to get it. We're going to see an all action scrap for as long as it lasts. And it's going to be glorious. And it's very fitting of this headlining slot in Tulsa.
Yeah, and with it being in the lightweight division, and I kind of mentioned it on Twitter earlier with a response to one guy that is very familiar within the boxing circle. So I'm making Twitter posts for boxing. Have their rankings there for lightweight, but I said that the thing with 135, and this has been the case since like as far as I know, 2019, 2018. You had a good number of fights between fighters within the top 10 in the lightweight division, multiple fights. And they've been
Mm-hmm.
consistent with that at 135. And this thing here with Cambosis and Maxie Hughes, whether they're within the top 10 or outside of the top 10, that still falls in that particular place. Like as of what I'm seeing, you have George Cambosis ranked number 8 in the IBF, Maxie Hughes ranked number 9 in the
Yep.
IBF. And
Oh,
also ranked in the WBC, you got Cambosis at 6, Maxie Hughes at 11, and I think you also had Keyshawn part of that card too.
yep.
So,
Keyshawn is in the co-main event.
so
Yep.
what we got is here on the month of July, just on the month of July alone, you've seen Frank Martin in action. You'll see, like I said, Cambosis, Max Hughes in action. You'll see Keyshawn Davis in action. You're going to see Estock Cruz going up against Giovanni Cabrera. So, the lightweight division continues to have these type of fights there within the rankings. So you see these multiple
I
contenders,
love it.
you know, and that's kind of like been consistent there within the lightweight division for them to kind of like clear things out, year after year after year. And you're going to see more of that. Actually, for me
Oh,
in
love it.
particular, with Top Rank, because they have a great number of fighters there at lightweight.
Let's just face it. Let's just face it, brother. And this was the head scratcher. Now, I haven't had a chance to speak to you regarding Andy Cruz and his brilliant professional debut. Boy, he looked
Right.
razor sharp in his first
Yeah.
10-round fight as a professional against a tough,
Professional
rugged fight
debut.
veteran. Yep, against Juan Carlos Menin Burgos. He looked sensational. But why the hell would he sign with Matchroom Sport when Top Rank and PBC have all the talent at 35?
Good luck for Matchroom and whoever they have to try to make up some matches for them for those first few fights or so, because all of these guys in lightweight are there at Top Rank, and you know how rare it is for Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn to make cross promotional bouts. So especially in the lightweight division, they ain't gonna much happen. So
Well, I will
Andy
say
Cruz
this.
is just gonna be floating
Going back though to George Kambosos Jr.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how because going into the Teofimo Lopez fight and even the Devin Haney fight, he had a lot of momentum going into those fights, and he had the mindset of a winner. And I
Yeah.
knew because of and once again, I successfully, and so did James Gogi, successfully predicted the upset because of his mindset and because of all the adversity that Teofimo Lopez was facing going into that fight. And once again, the goal line being pushed back 8 different times throughout the entire year before they finally settled on Matchroom Sport hosting that fight in the Hulu Theater, right, at Madison Square Garden. It's going to be interesting to see if his two devastating, dominant losses to Devin Haney has shaken him mentally. But listening to him speak, he sounds great. He sounds like he's still brimming with confidence. He's still talking like a champion. And I love that mindset from all of our fighters. This is going to be, guys, a great all-action fight that is completely flying under the radar. But just consider it, for those of you who like to cook and like to eat, consider it your amuse-bouche for everything to come the following weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And with George Kambosos, for me, like he had, his fights before that Teofimo Lopez fight. He had, 2 split decision victories. The one over Mickey Bay, and then the one over Lee Selby to, have him become the IBF mandatory challenger to Teofimo Lopez. But like going into that bout against Lopez, he was one of the most confident fighters, out there, saying that, he said without a shadow of a doubt that he was going to win that fight. And so, him having that type of confidence and him not really, caring about what Teofimo Lopez had been doing up to that point, that kind of was, his driving force in order for him to get to that fight and win. And so he goes into that and then faces, Devin Haney for the first time, and then, loses by decision in that one where, it was kind of, it wasn't really, that close in that one. But then the next one, it was even worse.
Yeah, he got his ass whooped in the second fight. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting to see if he's the same guy. And look,
right.
I don't care what any fighter says. I don't care what any fighter says. And once again, all of you, make no mistake about it, guys. What separates these guys from the rest of us, this is why they do what they do. They have to be brimming with confidence to step foot in that ring and to be truly convinced that they're going to whoop their opponent's ass. Otherwise, they would not step in the ring, guys. Okay? They don't think like we do. That's what separates them. That's why they're warriors. That's why we love to watch them do what they do. And my hat's off to all of them. I will say this, though. The first time George Kim, once again, Maxie Hughes is a good fighter. He's not a great fighter. And he doesn't have that devastating power that can garner your respect immediately. So I think, once again, this is like peanut butter and jelly, this matchup. I think it's going to result in an under-the-radar instant classic. And do you remember back in the day, like you just rattled off and did a great job reminding us of the consequence and the magnitude of this event? Both guys are ranked in the top 10 in most of the sanctioning organizations. Do you remember back in the day before there were 4 titles and the silver belt and the gold belt and the regular belt and all this bullshit confusing the fans? When it was 2 top 10 guys in any division, that was a big deal, James. That used to be a big deal. We've been so spoiled this year, though, guys, with all of the events that have already happened and all the events that are coming up on the calendar. We're spoiled. Well, we're looking at this and going, this should be a good appetizer. This is going to be a great fight. And it's going to be all action. And I tell you what, the winner of this really puts himself in a good position to fight one of the elite at 35.
Yeah, yeah, they do. But it's like I said there with the amount of fighters that they do have at lightweight within Top Rank and the level of matchmaking that they do have there at Top Rank, you're going to see a number of very, very good matchups there within the lightweight division. So if you see, one of these guys, I mean, Keyshawn Davis is on the card. You can see one of these guys against Keyshawn Davis or Ray Murataya or Jermaine Ortiz or any of those guys. So you will see a number of very good fights there within the lightweight division, just within Top Rank alone. So definitely, looking forward to this.
Speaking of Top Rank, James, before I forget and before we get off the air,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you your opinion because you're a professional and you do a great job covering the beat. And you're such a hard worker, man, and my hat's off to you, brother. I'm envious. I wish I could do what you're able to do right now, and that's go cover all of these events. And you do a great job doing it. And my hat's off to you, brother. And that's why I love being here on the Boxing Source, man. You do an excellent job, and you're a credit to the business. With that said, brother, what are your thoughts with all of your knowledge of the business? Were you surprised that Top Rank released Arnold Barboza?
Yeah, I was. I mean, what was it? Didn't they try to have him and
Yep.
Ramirez? They
Yep.
try to have that fight? Yeah.
And him and Teofimo Lopez as well. Once again, it's not for a lack of effort. And he's and look, he's got a great manager in Rick Maragon, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand why would they release him with all of their talent at 140. Why would they release him?
Yeah, and the thing too was, what was it, like a couple months back? Barbosa was fairly vocal about, not being in a position to have one of those key fights at 140, and for him to, not necessarily get, I just like any of those fights there at 140, but just to be released from Top Rank in general, that was, a shock to me, Now, does that mean like, hey, he could potentially, get a title shot there at, super lightweight, maybe against a Regis or something like that? I don't know, but he's there undefeated, a top contender. They're at the 140-pound division, and I mean, he should be due a world title shot. So
yeah. I was shocked. I was shocked. I haven't had a chance to talk to Bruce or anyone from Top Rank yet regarding that release, but I'll be very interested. And when I do, it's going to result in an article. But yeah, man, I'm trying to think of why. And you look at the past, the reasoning of Top Rank letting go certain fighters. It's either one. Like Igas Kalvayasquez is the most recent that comes to mind. A great fighter who's willing to step in the ring with anybody. And he's got world-class power. And, boy, he hurts. Win or lose, he hurts everyone he's been in the ring with. Terrence Crawford. Virgil Ortiz Jr. Look, there were some scary moments for both of those fighters in a fight with Igas Kalvayasquez. But, once again, what are you going to do with him if he's one, viewed by everyone as being too much risk for reward, and two, he's not a big ticket seller. So with my understanding of the business, those are the reasons why they let him go. They're not making him happy. They're not able to get the fights that he wants. What are they going to do with him? So they're doing the right thing, in my opinion, by letting him go and allowing him to, like, Edgar Berlanga, but for different reasons, to go and try to seek other opportunities somewhere else. Because once again, if Top Rank has always been of the mindset, and this is what makes them Top Rank, if they can't help a fighter, then they're not going to hinder him either. They're not going to continue to work with him if they cannot get him the big fights.
Yeah.
They're going to allow him, they're going to release him and allow him to go to try to seek other opportunities somewhere else. And that's the only thing that makes sense in my mind. Otherwise, why would you release a guy who's a legitimate contender, a title contender, a potential title challenger for anyone's belt in Arnold Barboza? Undefeated, very skilled, fun fighter to watch. And they cut him. In my mind, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, they just didn't have anything out there for him where it would work out for him as far as like matchup wise and financial wise. But one thing that I kind of think about is that potential matchup with Jose Carlos Ramirez. And
Mm,
with Ramirez is, the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit with Ramirez, especially with a couple of potential matchups that he could have had, is that
yeah,
he has a certain asking price for him.
yeah.
And given I know that he's done some things, over around his hometown and things like that, but that still doesn't mean that you could command a certain price for certain fights when the people that you're talking to know with absolute certainty that they wouldn't be able to make a good profit if they pay you a certain amount and they pay this certain opponent an amount and try to make that fight. So
Uh,
in reference to Ramirez and Barbosa, I feel like that kind of was the reason why that fight didn't take place, is because the money was just way too high. The asking price was too high for them to pull the trigger on that fight. So for Barbosa, it's like, hey, now I'm kind of, as they say, homeless or whatnot when it comes to promotional companies. But I think he'll find a place pretty soon to get a couple fights in. But I just
um,
like feel like hey, it might end up being Matchroom though.
well, you know what? That very well may be the case. We'll see. Uh, we'll
Yeah,
see, brother. I would much rather see him fight for Tom Brown and Al Heyman, but
yeah,
I understand why he wouldn't. There's so many fighters, deserving fighters in that roster, and
yep,
very limited TV dates with Steven Espinosa.
yep.
And so I would understand why, but I will say this. Um, yeah, he deserves his opportunity, guys. And
Hmm.
this is another instance where the boxing business has failed him. And once again, we I'm not going to mention any names, but we just saw, right, a YouTube channel just grill a guy like Mauricio Suleiman on the air for
Hmm.
no reason. For no reason. Once again, he's just the head and the president of a sanctioned organization. Guys, they're powerless. The networks have all the power. The promoters do the network's bidding. If the networks don't want to spend money on that guy, little you could. So once again, how many when you look at the last WBC convention, right? How many fights did they mandate, and how many have come to fruition from that
Yeah.
convention?
My thing is, how many actually come to fruition? That's the
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So make no mistake about it, guys. This is where the boxing business has failed Arnold Barboza, right? And you know what? Best of luck to him. He's a great guy. He's an excellent fighter, and he deserves his opportunity. And I hope he gets it. I hope he gets it. But James, at the tail end of your show, I know we just only have a couple
yep,
minutes left. I
yep.
wanted to get your opinion on, oh boy, Jermall Charlo. Are we seeing the official unraveling of a once promising quasi elite level fighter in WBC middleweight champion Jermall Charlo?
I hope not. I really hope not. Like I've liked Jamal Charlo as a fighter, like from pretty much from the get go. From him being able to work up his way up the ranks there at junior middleweight or super welterweight, and then eventually becoming the IBF champion at 154, then moving up to 160 and challenging for the WBC title at 160, and he was, of course, elevated to WBC champion. Had a great performance against Sergey Derevyanchenko in that pay-per-view. A pay-per-view, the doubleheader that I purchased that pay-per-view. Okay. I could be
So
one
did
of
I
those.
during COVID. I was one of the 77,000 people who did.
Who ordered the pay-per-view. Okay.
Yep.
So and I love him overall as a fighter. I love him overall as a fighter. And for him to, like, from him being at 160, right? Him not being able to have that kind of, marquee fight or whatever it is for him, initially trying to go after a Canelo fight, and then after that, try to go for a unification with Gennady Golovkin or whoever it was, like that made him, kind of like be stuck there at 160. So he could have potentially had that opportunity to have that high profile fight against, as I say, Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan. And it was,
look, guys, and once again, Jamal and Canelo have let the cat out of the bag. Something that I've been sworn not to talk about since, well, all of this has been taking place. And promised this party, and our brother, right, Ronnie Shields, promised him I would not address any of this any longer. But I don't have to now, do I? Jamal is doing a great job of doing it on his own. Look, man. I don't care. I don't care how strong or how badass you think you are. Right? And keep in mind, if you step foot in this ring, yeah, you're a different person, right? You're not like everyone else. You're fearless. You're a warrior. And this is a guy who's fearless. I don't care how strong you are, though, as a man. Oh, boy. A woman can bring you to your knees and make you sob like a little girl. I don't care how strong you think you are. A woman can bring you to your knees, and we're seeing that right now. And once again, this was his fight. He had it in the bag with Canelo Alvarez. And I'm like, okay, Ronnie, if you don't want me to mention that part of it, you don't want me to talk about it, I won't. Well, I don't have to. Jamal's been very vocal on Instagram, airing out his dirty laundry, talking about getting drunk, doing psychedelics.
Man.
Brother.
Trump, man.
Yep.
And the thing about it is, like, he had been, on Instagram Live, a few times. Yeah, he had, the little back and forth with Demetrius Andrade. But, we had, what was it, like a few weeks ago, celebrated birthdays, and things like that. But, the thing from a few days ago, that was just like, that was almost to the level of, like, Adrian Broner being on that show or something, man. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
And given, your conversations with, Coach Ronnie Shields, and, how much that he's, been there, not just, for Jamal, but for Jamel, that, he really, feels the way because of this particular situation, and, you gotta, pray for and hope for the best there for Jamal Charlo, because of, like I said, the situation's still out there for him to have a fight with Canelo Alvarez, depending on what happens in September. But
you know what though?
Yeah.
Dude, if you can make a case for anyone trying to flush that big opportunity down the toilet,
Right.
Yeah, look no further than Jamal. And once again, I hope Ronnie can have a serious heart-to-heart with him. And what I think is hilarious, though, all of these cats actually blowing me up, saying, "Oh, see, they had Jermell pegged all along." Dude, that's not the case, guys. Jermell was currently, when he got the call from Al Heyman and his brother, he was in the process of putting together a unification, undisputed matchup with Tim Tszyu, Jermell. And he got a call. Well, it looks like we're not going to be able to expedite this divorce in time. They even pushed the fight date back to September 30th to try and give him some more room, to give him some more time. And it wasn't going to be a possibility. And I just feel for Jamal right now. But he's not helping things. He's not helping matters by acting this way.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though. Yeah, guys, make no mistake about it. That was the reality. Like Canelo, yeah, he thought he was fighting Jamal the entire time. And then all of a sudden, within 5 days, they made the call to Jermell, understanding that this fight wasn't going to be, he wasn't going to be available. His divorce wasn't going to be final. So they made the call and made the deal within 5 days.
Yeah.
That's the reality, guys.
Yep. And you know, for those that, you know, kind of like were around this, you know, the news cycle and things like that, but they kind of overlook in reference to Jermell was that, like you said, they were on the verge of making that fight with Tim Tszyu. I think people kind of forgot that Tim Tszyu's handlers were still talking about that fight, saying, hey, we don't mind if it's going to be in Australia or if it's going to be in the US, even though a few days earlier they were pressing for it to be in Australia, given the amount of money that they got for those couple of fights that Tim Tszyu had, you know, like against Tony Harrison there and what was it? Who was it in his last fight that he had? But you know, even with that, they said, you know what, we don't mind if it's, you know, over in Las Vegas or whatever, you know, just, you know, go ahead and have the fight. And that's what, you know, Jermell was kind of prepared for. And then he just got hit with, you know, what he got hit with. So he's like, well, hey, I mean, I get this opportunity to, you know, get, you know, a good amount of money, more money that I would have against Tim Tszyu, and a chance to become undisputed champion at super middleweight. So why not?
Yeah. And you know what? You can't blame Jermell. Yeah. Once again, he's already accomplished so much within his career. This is merely icing on the cake. This is a legacy fight for him, and he's going to try to make the most of this opportunity. And this was basically gift wrapped and put in his lap. He wasn't expecting this. He thought his brother was going to get this assignment. Everyone did, including Canelo. And when Canelo was asked earlier this week, oh, you know, they said that it wasn't going to be ready. So they said Jermell. And I'm like, I don't care, guys. But I will say this. Do you remember what I said about Benavidez after speaking with Kevin Rooney Jr. from Matchroom? Right? Do you remember what I told you about that? Look, if you want to fight with Canelo, and once again, he let the cat out of the bag. Everything that we've been telling you is consistent, right? Because once again, we're both working members of this business. And I said, look, back then after speaking with him, he said, you know why Canelo's choosing these fighters and choosing this path? Because he can. Yep. And if you push him too hard, as evidence when we were trying to work hard to cultivate and nurture a big matchup between Canelo Alvarez and Demetrius Andrade, what happened when we pushed too hard? What happened when Demetrius Andrade pushed too hard? What did he tell him, James?
You're a horrible fighter. Horrible fighter.
Get the F out of here.
Wait. No, you already cursing. They done already did the adjustment on the thing for ad so I can just say it. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here.
So once again, David Benavidez not getting the memo. Well, he's pushed back into the I guess the back of the line, so to speak, from PBC candidates, right? Yep. And once again, Canelo let the cat out of the bag. You know, he talks too much shit. I you know what? You don't make a fight like that. I don't care about him. I don't need him, and I'm gonna show him that I don't need him. He needs me a lot more than I need him. Like, he could retire today and just go on the PGA Tour and be a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the greats of generation.
Yep.
He doesn't need it, guys. So honestly, David Benavidez, he should have gotten the memo, especially from a guy like Samson, who's been around this business and is a very respected promoter within this industry. Everyone loves Samson Lukowicz. Samson should have taken him to the side and said, look, that's not the way you go about it. If you want to do business with this guy, a la Spence Crawford, you don't throw daggers. You actually pick up the phone, give him a call, man to man, and you ask him very nicely, brother, can I get that opportunity, please? Because if you try to stand up Canelo Alvarez, well, he's going to shoot you down and prove a point that he is the man and he doesn't take orders from anyone. What happened when Dimitri Bivol didn't want to take his offer and tried to actually throw his weight around like he had some leverage? What happened?
Ooh, he got left. The train left him.
That's it. And who's he fighting now?
I don't know. Pretty much people, just to be honest, a lot of people won't even care.
Exactly. Same with Demetrius Andrade, right? Guys, make no mistake about this. All the false bravado, all of the bad blood when you see promoters try to build these matchups, that's bullshit, guys. This is a business. And for all intents and purposes, these guys, when they put together a big fight, they become business partners, right? They become business partners. So if Canelo doesn't like someone, why the hell is he going to give someone an opportunity to make millions if he does not like them? Right. It doesn't work that way, guys, within the business of boxing. Understand this. And understand that Benavidez is now, well, sitting at the end of the line with the PBC candidates at 68.
Yeah. And that's why they're talking about, Oscar De La Hoya and stuff, talking about, man, Jaime Munguia, he's a good fighter. He'll fight Benavidez, and he could beat Benavidez. Nah. About that. But yeah, like you were saying, man, with Canelo Alvarez, he marches to the beat of his own drum, and if you ain't down with his rhythm, he ain't gonna wait for you to catch up to him. We gonna keep on marching. And so that's
guys, and that's why you don't see Mauricio Suleiman mandate a fight with David Benavidez.
It is, yep.
Canelo Alvarez. That's why you don't see it, because guess what's going to happen then if he does? Well, you know what, Mauricio, I love you, man, and I loved your father, but you know what you can do with your belt, brother?
Hey, Canelo will be
just like Jim Morris, and just like Jim Morrison when he played the Ed Sullivan Show, and he said, "Yeah, girl, we couldn't get much higher," which was taboo on national TV back then. Mm-hmm. You know what they said? They said, "You know what, Jim? You're never going to play the Ed Sullivan Show again." You know what he said? I just did. That's it. So if Mauricio Suleiman tries to stand him up and say, "Well, we need to follow our bylaws. We need to mandate this fight, or you won't be undisputed any longer. We're going to strip you of the title." You know what he's going to say? "I've already been undisputed. Been there, done that. Kiss my ass. Take your belt, and I hope it's worth more to you around David Benavidez's waist." Thanks for playing.
Listen, it will be no different than years back after Canelo Alvarez defeated Miguel Cotto for that WBC belt. and they tried to mandate him to face Gennady Golovkin that initial time, guess what he said? He can go ahead and keep that WBC middleweight title.
That's it. 2016 there. And I remember why they kept him at that absurd Canelo weight of 155. Because he couldn't, he wasn't proficient enough in the minds of everyone around him, his team, his brain trust, right? The guys who brilliantly cultivated his career. The matchmakers at Golden Boy Promotions, as well as the late, great Don Warwick Chargan, the architect, right? He wasn't proficient enough in cutting off the ring and closing the distance, a la being the effective aggressor. He wasn't there yet. So they kept him at that catchweight for a year. And when they pressed him, he was like, well, screw the belt. You know what? When you make when you achieve a certain level of attraction, do the belts really matter any longer?
Nope,
absolutely not. They knew it. Mauricio knew it. And that's exactly why he's not mandating this fight with Benavidez, in case you guys wondered. And that's why I'm like, going back to that interview that I'm not going to name names, right? Press a good guy like Mauricio Suleiman like that on the air. You're just making yourself look like a jackass and basically securing that he will never be on your platform ever again.
That was a very interesting interview by that guy. Of course I know him very well, but it's like you said, in reference to the World Boxing Council, it's one thing to say something, but it's a whole nother thing for it to be enforced. So
and look, the last thing I'm going to say about this, James, and this is why I have so much respect for you. You understand the business, and no disrespect to any YouTubers who are consider themselves new media, brother. Learn how to be a journalist first. Okay, when I got into this business, I found out the hard way and learned that nothing good comes from being a fanboy. If you want to earn your bones in this business, be a professional. Take your emotions out of this, right? Do your job. Be fair. It's nothing personal. You might have a personal attachment to a specific fighter. Guess what? That just makes you a great fan. Does not make you a real journalist. James, you, sir, are a real journalist. And my hat's off to you, my friend. You do a great job.
Gotcha. Thanks on that. And like I said, learn from multiple people within the boxing media. That includes you. That includes guys like Keith Idec, so to speak. Like
great guy.
Rich Mancuso, who was a longtime writer, not just in boxing, but also specialized in baseball too, over in New York City. And I just learned from them. And the thing about it is that when I started and going into this point, it's pretty much been like a transition period. So you do talk about folks that are on YouTube and things like that, but it kind of goes into how things are viewed nowadays, not just in boxing, it's overall, in that like print media or like journalism, like that type of stuff, like how Keith Idec continues to do. It kind of is, I wouldn't necessarily saying phasing out, but it's like really going off into the back nine, so to speak. But by doing that, you kind of limit the integrity of covering the sport by doing that.
That's it.
So
your coverage is ultimately hindered if you're not objective.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't expect to analyze these situations and these matchups properly if you view things with a preference.
Mm-hmm.
James, you have no preference when you view these things professionally. Now, on a personal level, yeah, you're not going to disclose that on the air, But when I call you later on, yeah, you'll tell me who your favorite fighters are and what you're hoping that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never going to disclose that. And my guess is that all of your listeners will never be able to tell. They will never be able to guess who your personal preference is. And that's the sign of a true professional, brother.
Well,
Friend, my friend.
the only person that pretty much tries to have an idea of who my favorite fighter is Mr. MVO or Matt. But
Matthew.
that's from a long time friendship, companionship, and internal rivalry that has happened over the years. But outside of that, only the few people within my circle within the boxing source kind of like know who I kind of like follow the most. So there's that. But
Yeah, yeah,
outside of that,
and then again also, and
right.
once again in turn on my program, and which you'll hear James, and my apologies guys for not going live Tuesday, but I got a call in which James is always my gracious co-host, and he does a brilliant job on Warwick Radio. And once again, I love having you there, James. Thank you, brother. You make the show better every time you're there. And guys, because Ronnie wasn't able to be there on Tuesday, we didn't air, right? But we will be back on the air next Tuesday night. James, Ronnie, and myself, we're going to bring you all the updates. We're going to talk about Filip Bergovich and his big fight in the co-main event, right? Of the Anthony Joshua Dillian White undercard.
Yep.
We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about the latest in Jamal in the book according to Ronnie. And James, yeah, that's the reason why I love having you there, man. You're very unbiased. You take your emotions out of it, and you call it right down the line. And once again, that's what's expected of you. That's what's expected of you. You're a professional. And like, I defy anyone to tell me who my favorite fighters are. You won't be able to, because I don't have a dog in the hunt on a professional level, and I will call it right down the middle. If it's bad, like my only preference is, and you too, all right? If it's bad for the health of the sport, we're going to be critical upon it. And if it's good for the health of the sport, we're going to praise it. Everything else is a very distant second and is of no consequence. There it is.
Yep. And, that's the thing about it is, not being openly biased towards a fighter or a set of fighters or, a group. That's, even, in the level of where however I cover the sport or being able to be in these events. That's why I'm able to make it inside most of those major promotional organizations with little to no issues. It's because I don't be overly critical of fighters. I don't be overly critical of promotions in the sport in general. So that's how I break things down. But with that being said, what is that about? Man, about an hour and 48 minutes in. This Midweek report. I think we'll see if we can continue on Warwick Radio Network here. It just depends on when Joseph is going to start up. Like I said, we're going to continue
9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, brother, for about a 60-minute show.
All right, gotcha. So that'll work. So yeah, I'll give you time to prepare to go on. So for those listening live now, you can go over to the Warwick Radio Network channel on YouTube and catch the live there with Joseph Heron. And for those that missed the earlier preview here of Fulton versus Inoue, you could of course catch it here on this channel on the Boxing Source, and we will get to more boxing coverage over the next few days. We're going to talk about what's going to happen in Oklahoma on Saturday in the actual Boxing Source podcast that will be scheduled for Sunday, and then look forward to Tuesday here with Joseph Heron and Coach Ronnie Shields, and then Wednesday it won't be a midweek report. I should be on my way over to Las Vegas, Nevada on a Wednesday, so that will be that's going to be a long day. because I'll be up early.
Yeah.
Get Fulton Inoue, and then I'm gonna definitely be sleeping on the plane on the way over to Las Vegas. So that's definitely the plan. That's
Well,
crazy.
look. All I can
But
say is this, James. All I can say is
yeah,
this, brother, in closing remarks, just to add to
yeah.
that. Get
Mhm.
ready for the rat race, brother. Because during
Listen.
fight week,
Hmm.
oh, you're going to see and I'm hoping for this anyway, best case scenario. I'm hoping that every major media outlet is going to cover this. And guys, we're going to talk about this on War Week Radio at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk all about this. Should Stephen Espinosa, should Al Heyman, should all parties involved, should they be concerned with the quote unquote lack of buzz, mainstream buzz surrounding Spence Crawford? Well, we'll address it on War Week
Yeah.
Radio. So guys, please join us. Tune in about 40 minutes time.
Yep, no doubt. That's right. The War Week Radio Network channel on YouTube. Y'all be sure to tune in, and like I said, I'll be on there to give to share my thoughts on that particular topic, because it is as important as this fight has been, as much as people have talked about it or whatever it is. Yeah, the whole thing with no buzz. Yeah, I really want to get into that because it is of a concern. And we're definitely going to be talking about the quote unquote business of boxing when it comes to that. Okay.
I
So
tell
with
you
that
what,
being
James,
said,
can't
yep.
wait, my brother. And once again, thank
Yep.
you for being the gracious host. Thank you for letting me actually tag along on your channel. Guys, please subscribe and please hit the like button. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And guys, in the immortal words of Karen Carpenter, we've only just begun. Stay tuned, guys.
Yep. And with that being said, that is the midweek report here for this week. This time it will be on July 20th, 2023. And we will be back at it on Sunday here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel. So until then, I will catch y'all later. Peace out.